I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and this is my review and installation of the Barricade Trailforce HD and Winch combination kit fitting all 2007 and up JKs. Today we're going to talk through the installation of this kit, which is a pretty simple 1 out of 3 wrenches. Even though you are installing a winch, it's a very simple install, even if you're not comfortable with automotive wiring. Just 2 leads to hook up, and this bumper is directly a bolt-on bumper. So give yourself about 2 hours and you'll be able to get this installed, but we'll talk more about the installation in just a second. We're also going to talk about the construction and a few of the features of this kit. This bumper and winch combination kit is for those of you who, of course, want an aftermarket front bumper that has some additional off-road features and offers some more protection, and also wants a winch so that you can recover yourself if you were to get stuck off-road or help out a friend. Even if you're somebody who stays on-road but is in a winter environment, you may end up sliding off into a ditch, and a winch can come in handy at that point as well. Now, purchasing these pieces in a kit is easier because you know that you're getting everything that works together. One click and you end up with all of these parts to completely transform the front end of your Jeep and make it a lot more functional. But you're also able to save yourself some money. You can certainly purchase these pieces individually off the site, but again, purchasing them as a kit will save you a few dollars. Now, this winch is going to be great for those of you who are going to be doing those occasional weekend off-road trips and using it occasionally. If you are somebody who's going to be doing those long, hard pulls weekend after weekend, I may recommend purchasing this bumper and purchasing a different winch at a higher price point that has some additional features. But for those people that do plan on using the winch occasionally, this is going to be a really nice kit that'll bolt directly on the front of your Jeep. Those of you that have been looking for winches for a while will know that you can't bolt it directly onto that plastic front bumper that comes on your JK from the factory. You can, of course, add a winch plate onto that bumper, but upgrading to a full steel front bumper not only allows you to mount that winch, but also gives you some additional features that are great for on-road and for off-road. This bumper is going to be made of 5/32 steel plate. It's covered in a textured black powder coat finish that's going to help it resist rust and corrosion, but also help it to match those factory plastic black accents that are on your Jeep already. A few of the other features that this bumper has that I really do like is the fact that it has welded D-ring mounts, and this actually comes with the D-rings as well. You may be thinking, I just purchased a winch and bumper combo, what do I need D-rings for? I have my winch for recoveries. Well, a D-ring does come in handy for a couple of different things. If you're going to be using your winch, you can go to a snatch block on a tree and back to your D-ring, essentially doubling the pulling power of your winch if you're in a situation where that is necessary. Another good use for a D-ring is when your recovery situation isn't right for a winch, but you are going to be using a snatch strap. I like using a D-ring for a snatch strap a lot better than using a factory style tow hook, because when you have the slack in the snatch strap line before it goes taut, there's always a chance that that loop is going to move. With a D-ring, you get a nice solid connection. Going back to some other features on the bumper that I really like, the fact that it is ready for your factory fog lights. You already have your factory fog lights, you have the wiring, you have the switch. Why not have a bumper that will accept those factory fog lights? You can simply unbolt them out of your factory bumper, bolt them in your aftermarket bumper, plug them right in, and they're going to work great. They're going to look good, and you don't have to purchase any additional lights. However, if you do decide to purchase additional lights, some auxiliary lighting, and you want to be able to mount it on your bumper, right up on top of this bumper hoop, you do have 2 light mount tabs. Those are going to accept a more traditional round halogen light, an LED light cube. If you get a little bit creative with your mounting, you can get a few different sizes of light bars to mount up here, but again, you do have to get a little creative, possibly do a little bit of fabrication. And of course, the hoop itself that those light mount tabs are on will offer some protection to your winch, to your grille, and also offer a little bit more style to this bumper. The final feature that I do want to talk about on this bumper is the fact that it is a winch-ready bumper. This comes pre-drilled, ready to accept your Barricade winch or really any other winch that you might want to bolt onto it, and it has the Fairlead mount right up on the front here, which makes installing a winch on this bumper a very simple process. Aside from those features that you can see, you're also getting a mid-width bumper that again is made of steel. It's going to offer some great protection as well as some additional style. Now, the second part of this kit is, of course, the Barricade 9,500 pound winch with the synthetic line. Now, the general rule of thumb for choosing a pulling capacity for your winch is about 1.5 times the loaded trail weight of your vehicle. So if you have a lighter 4-door or even a heavy 2-door Jeep, chances are 9,500 pounds is going to be plenty. If you do have a heavy armored up 4-door JK, probably want to go with a 12,000 pound winch or something a little bit heavier duty. Now, this winch does come with a 5.5 horsepower motor. It uses a 3-stage planetary gear set to get the power from that motor to the actual spool, which is going to give you great line speed, but also give you that pulling power that you really need. Now, this winch here does come with the synthetic line, as we said, and there are a few different benefits to synthetic line. Now, a more traditional steel cable, while it stretches like a synthetic line, will store energy, and if that steel cable breaks, it can snap back, causing damage or injury, which of course is a bad thing. The synthetic line does not store energy, so while it will still stretch, if it breaks, it just falls right to the ground. Now, synthetic line has a couple of other benefits that I like. It's lighter, so when you're dragging it up a muddy hill to hook onto a tree, it's a little bit easier than a steel cable. It will kink like a steel cable. If your steel cable frays, you can end up with a pretty nasty splinter if you're not wearing gloves, which you should be. You won't have that problem with synthetic line. Now, as I said, there are a lot of pros to a synthetic line, but there are also a couple of minor drawbacks as well. You do have to be a little bit more careful about keeping your synthetic line clean. If it does get dirt in between the fibers, it can chafe and actually start to wear your line. The newer synthetic lines aren't nearly as sensitive to UV rays as the old ones were. However, you still do want to be a little bit careful with UV rays. This kit does come with the winch cover, which we're going to get to in a minute, which is a really nice feature. And finally, synthetic line isn't going to last as long as a steel cable is, and when you do need to replace it, it's going to be significantly more expensive than steel. So definitely some pros and cons. Even though synthetic line is more expensive and requires a little bit more maintenance, I like it because of the safety aspect and the fact that it's easier to drag around. This winch is going to, of course, bolt directly onto your bumper very easily, and as we said before, will also wire up to your Jeep very easily. The final piece in this kit is, as we said before, the winch cover. This is a nylon style winch cover. It has a drawstring so you can cinch it around your winch, keeping it nice and tight. That's going to help to keep junk off of your winch when you're driving down the road or even when you're in an off-road situation. It's also going to help protect your winch line from those UV rays, which, as we said before, can be a little bit harmful to those synthetic lines. To get this kit installed on your Jeep is a very simple 1 out of 3 wrench install, probably about 2 hours to get all of this stuff bolted up, and you're only going to need your traditional hand tools. Now, the first step is, of course, removing your factory front bumper on your Jeep. The first step in doing that is going to be removing the blower splash shield, and you can also remove your upper bumper cover. You're removing the fog light bulbs from the housings. Just give them a quarter turn, pull them out. You want to release the rest of your fog light wiring harness from the inside of the bumper. Finally, you'll remove the 8 nuts that are holding your factory bumper in place and simply give it a tug. It'll come right off the Jeep. Now, I like to bolt your winch onto your bumper before bolting the bumper onto the Jeep. It makes it a lot easier to get to those winch mounting bolts. Now, of course, you're going to have all the hardware you need to get everything bolted up. You can go ahead and bolt the winch body onto your bumper. You can bolt your winch solenoid box on top of the winch and wire the solenoid box onto the winch. Once all of that is connected to the bumper, you are going to have a fairly heavy and large package. However, again, it makes it easier to get the winch and the bumper as one unit installed onto the Jeep rather than installing the bumper and trying to get to those winch mounting bolts. So once everything is bolted up, simply lift your bumper onto the frame rails and use the included hardware to get it attached. The last step in the install is going to be attaching the 2 longer leads from your winch solenoid box through the grille along the inner fender and up to your battery, where you'll pick up a positive and a negative. And that's it. Again, you are getting a lot of parts, you're getting a lot of function, you're definitely changing up the look of your Jeep, but all in all, a very easy install for all of these parts. You can certainly purchase these pieces individually off the website. However, you are going to save yourself around $60 by purchasing them as a kit, which of course is very beneficial. Now, this bumper is going to work regardless of which winch you decide to put on it. And as I mentioned, this winch is going to be good for those occasional pulls every couple of weekends. But if you are going to be doing some really long, hard pulls every weekend, I would recommend going with a winch that does have some additional features and is probably going to be more expensive. So if you're looking for a bumper and winch combination that you know is going to work together, they're going to complement each other, and they're going to bolt directly on the front of your Jeep, all for less than what some front bumpers cost by themselves, this is definitely going to be a good kit to take a look at. The winch is going to be something that's going to be great for those occasional uses. Again, if you are going to be doing long, hard pulls every weekend, possibly look at a pricier one with some additional features. But for that person who's going to be using the winch occasionally and wants a bumper that's going to offer more features and more protection, this is going to be a fairly priced and easy to install kit. So that's my review of the Barricade Trailforce HD Front Bumper and Winch combination fitting all 2007 and up JKs that you can find right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.